Okay, welcome back to UK Bhangra Culture. I'm obviously in conversation with the boys from Glasgow, I'd like to say. Is that good, guys?
That sounded like Liverpool.
Ah!
That sounded
I'm not
like,
very good with my
that was
accents,
like
actually.
Borderline Manchester, Liverpool, you know.
Football, are you guys into football, actually? I'd like to say, are you supporting Scotland at the moment?
I support Brazil, you know. That's about as good as
Is
it
he a
gets.
glory hunter?
I think it looks like.
Yeah, has he always been a glory hunter?
No, what it
Pops?
is, he's a FIFA addict.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
So,
I play FIFA all the time, bro.
so you do all the work, and
He does all the work.
Okay.
No, do you know what it is?
And he plays all the
When
games.
we're in the studio, I do all the work and he sits at the laptop. And when we get home, I do the chilling and he does the work on the phone with the promoters and everything. You know?
Okay, let's talk about home life. Actually, what were you guys like kids, Because obviously, I love your appearance and I think, it's so nice and I'll take this opportunity now. And hence I've put it bug on because that's just to compliment you, honestly, because I do look up to you guys and I think it's so brilliant that for the next generation you're actually promoting and making Sukhi fashionable, if that's okay to say. But what would you like guys like as children? I'll come back to that in a bit.
I mean, we were your typical little Punjabi kids with guttiyan that would run about in the Gurdwara and get told off, yeah, kisi di gutti idhar hogi, we were constantly just, getting into trouble and, up to mischief,
Because you know what?
I'm blaming it on each other.
Blaming it on each other,
Okay, tell me something that you blamed on each other.
We used to have this cabinet and it had this door that you would pull down.
Okay.
And there was something on the door that if you pulled it down, it would break and you couldn't shut it anymore, so the door would just be sitting open.
Okay.
And he pulled the door and it sat open and shittar mere pe gaya, And Bart, when I said, it wasn't me, it was Pops, hey, more karke dandiya kadde, ke haan, tere ta pe gayi.
Because I think people think, because, you're sardars and, you mellowed out and children don't do eltan, but you do eltan, don't you?
Yeah.
And once something about a fire in a bedroom or something.
Oh,
But what happened?
Where did all these stories come from?
Hey, this is my job to do research.
Yeah, he's been doing some special research, I think. No, do you know what it was? When I was young, I was
Actually, who's the eldest out of you
It's
two?
me, actually.
Okay, right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
When I was younger, I was a bit of a pyromaniac. I had a real obsession with fire.
He's a fire starter.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had a habit of taking matches and just lighting them and then throwing them.
Oh, no.
And luckily my mum caught me before I set fire to the bed.
Okay, now who was going to blame? Who just said?
Well, I was just going to blame it on the kand or something like that, Kand ne mainu kiya si.
I'm hearing these voices. The Kanda said fire. There you go. So Raj is the fire starter. Okay, I mean, what about the concert of music? Obviously, you've studied classical tabla from the Gyanis, I believe, the Gurdwara. Was it your dad who had a big influence on musical side of things?
Actually, to be honest, there was always music being played in our house, all the time.
Right.
Whether it was kirtan, whether it was folk songs. Kuldeep Manak, Surinder Shinda, these type of things, even like, Atala and stuff like that, My dad was quite into the more folky kind of stuff.
Okay.
And Sadhe dad, they actually, Sukhi Mama ji were Swargvasi Sant Sarwan Singh ji Gandharv of Dameli, who actually wrote several books, a whole volume of books on Sangeet. They're called Sur Simran Sangeet and Sari Rag Vidya Bich Dasiya. So I mean, we have childhood memories of meeting them and of knowing that we have this in our family.
Yeah.
Santa Nakunia and despite being blind, they played several instruments. Some instruments that not many people can even play, rare instruments like jaltrang and stuff like that, So we always had this in the back of our mind that there is music in our family. My dad always had a big shock of music. And he tried to learn the clarinet at one point, I think.
Really?
And then he got bored with that and tried to learn something else. Pura chetani, but yeah.
Okay.
And
but that's nice though, isn't it? Because it's passed down from him.
Yeah.
And I think it's nice that fact that because obviously people might look at you. Is your dad a Sardar? Sorry, I've never met Uncle Ji. Yeah. But people might think, because ਇਹ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਆ ਬਸ ਇੱਥੇ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਚੱਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਜਾਂ ਇਸ ਘਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਰਤਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਲ ਸਕਦਾ. It's nice the fact that you've actually said, we had Kuldeep Manak or Atullah Khan, because I think Sangeet has no boundaries really.
Exactly. I mean ਬੰਦੇ ਪਤਾ ਕੀ ਆ ਸੰਗੀਤ ਕਦੀ ਗੰਦਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਕਦੀ ਖਰਾਬ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਾਂ ਬੰਦੇ ਦੀ ਜਿੱਦਾਂ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਤੱਕਣੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਆ ਜਾਂ ਉਹਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਮਨ ਹੁੰਦਾ you know ਕਿ ਜੇ ਮਨ ਸਾਫ਼ ਰੱਖੋ you can listen to whatever you want you know it's not as if music's going to tell you to go out and do something bad it's your own conscious you know
Pop, sorry, you going to elaborate on that?
I just think that we've always tried to keep that kind of conscious effort in there in our music that we want to bring quality lyrics through. We want to bring the poetic essence of our culture through. And same with the music that we make, the music that we compose. We try as much as possible to have certain elements of rag in there. Certain elements of folk instrumentation and things in there, so that people get that feeling of authenticity from our music, as well as it being of a fusion nature.
I mean that's the next question. Obviously, people are going to say, look, Sengya, ek hi karde ya. How does Sukhi and or your parents and Bhangra go together? I'm sure you must have your critics.
I mean, there's always going to be critics no matter what you do, whatever field you're in. You could be a doctor and someone still says, didn't question you all that, I mean,
from the aspect of questioning, I think from the aspect of to say, look, ek paase to see you're releasing Shahidi albums. On the other hand, you're releasing Bhangra, Ishq Nagani or things like that. From that aspect of things, I mean, how do you tackle that?
We approach music as an expression. Okay, I mean, I think that the kind of most recent, you would say, the most recent kind of elaboration of that would be Gurdas Man's Waris Shah film, where कि उन्होंने उस्ताद कहते वारिस शाह नू कि you can only really write or you can only really be creative if you've had that experience. And for us, the music that we make is our experience. So we don't look at it it's commercial music, or we don't look at it this is a Kuri Munda situation in the song. What we're looking at is the poetic nature of the lyrics, and what we're looking at is what music we're composing. So as long as it is of a decent nature.
So a bit like Baba Bulle Shah, I suppose, because Bulla has written so many, Rabbanuvi, he sees himself as Sufi, but then on the
other hand, the thing is, if you look at the typical Punjabi household, you take the typical Punjabi household, ek paase, the mums are always in the kitchen listening to kirtan and so on. जो dad's car आउंदे आ उदो माड़ा मोटा गुरदास मान लग जांदा है and जो पार्टी हुंदी है उदो सारे नचदे आ पर गुरुद्वारे भी जाईदा है so every Punjabi or every Sikh Punjabi has this balance to keep के गुरुद्वारे भी जाईदा उत्थे भी you have to respect your religion and your heritage in that respect, but then there's a cultural heritage that we have that is very rich and very powerful in its own way, and ਉਹਨੂੰ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਛੱਡਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ.
We've never really come across any kind of conflict in our own mind. कि लोग भाਵੇਂ ਕਹਿਣ ਕਿ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਧਾਰੀ ਤੇ ਕਲੱਬਾਂ 'ਚ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਆ ਕਰਦਾ ਜਾਂ ਉਹ ਕਰਦਾ. We've never really felt ਕਿ we should even feel that contradiction, because the way I've always felt the way I want to carry myself is never going to be shedding any kind of negative light on anything.
I mean, it's great that you guys, like I'm going to keep on saying I am a fan of your music and I'm a fan of yourselves as well. And I'll give you an example because, my nephew, his name is Jinni, and I'm sure he's probably listening. When he was here, he was at a private school, and, you'd say, Kidda Jinni, and he'd walk around with his hand like behind, he wouldn't speak Punjabi or anything like that. And then he went away to university, and you know what he discovered? He discovered you guys. And then next time he came down after a couple of weeks, he was wearing Tigerstyle T-shirts. And I thought, wow, the lads do have a huge influence. So do you feel a responsibility that you're actually taking your culture and spreading it wider than maybe somebody go to Gurdwara or Granthi could do it?
I mean, this is something that has influenced the way we decide how we put together concepts for songs. If you look at our material, we never have songs that really portray drinking or anything like that in a positive way, or we don't talk too much about ke munde kudi da chakkar. Je thoda ja love song heavy, it's still in a poetic way, and we purposely pick songs that are about our heritage and about Punjabiyat, ਜਾਂ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਜਾਂ ਸ਼ਹੀਦਾਂ ਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ or whatever, because all these are the things that we need to keep alive. ਅਜੇ ਸ਼ਰਾਬਾਂ ਸ਼ਰੂਬਾਂ ਇਹ ਤਾਂ ਚੱਲਦੀਆਂ ਰਹਿਣੀਆਂ, but the thing that we need to keep alive is ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਾਡਾ ਵਿਰਸਾ ਹੈ, the stories of our shaheeds, our love stories that have been told for generations.
Okay, you've talked about Shahidi. Let's go over to the from the Bhangra scene to the Shahidi scene, because you're hugely successful in that. I mean, every time I'm on my radio, I play Son of a Sardar and Singhan di jave jitte chul de kesari chande, Singhan di jave jeep shukri. In a way, nobody could actually think that on a BBC channel that these songs would be played if it hadn't been for you. I mean, when did you make that decision that we're going to go along this side as well?
I think, we had always kept, we do want to try and do something conscious. On the first album, we had a track called War Cries, which had samples of news feeds about the
1984 Operation Blue
Star, which we had some speeches by Sant Pindaramwale. It was quite, at that time, we didn't really know how to put the music together, so it was a jungle song and it had some other jungle samples and a lot of rola going on. But off the back of that, we got in touch with a group of Naujawan who wanted to really put together a good project that would enlighten youngsters about the whole, the keeping Sikhi alive, respecting the Shahidi aspect of things, the Seva aspect of things, and really having a conscious mind about the Sikhi. So, we kind of, they done their first release without us, and then on the second release and further, further albums have always had our kind of involvement in.
You hooked up with Jaggowala Jatha, who are sort of renowned for their their fight against whatever's happening in India or whatever was happening at that time as well. Was that a conscious decision to get Jaggowala on board?
We'd heard their Kavishri tapes. And we were already fans of their voice and their material. It just so happened that one of the lads that actually works within the Shahidi project had a contact for them, and
so they came on board.
They came on board. Some of the initial stuff was actually their voices from the tapes, chopped up and put into time. But then obviously as our contact with them grew, we were able to do stuff.
Why? Obviously you've said the Shahidi lads approached you and said we want you to you want to front with this. Now we look at Bin Laden or we look at Saddam Hussein or whatever people are occupying another country. In a way, for the Indian government, I don't want to go down too much into this. Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Bhindranwale was maybe seen as a terrorist of those times as well, but yet you sitting in Glasgow, you're promoting that, you're pushing that. So my question is, what did Sant Jarnail Singh Ji Bhindranwale do for the youths of today, like yourself, that Guru Gobind Singh Ji couldn't do? Because a lot of people became to Sikhi following Sant Ji.
I think it's a question of terminology or understanding, or that real experience that when someone leads by example, you're able to follow them, or you're at least able to appreciate their message a lot more. I don't think there was nothing short of a message from Guru Gobind Singh, but I think to see someone live out the Sikhi of Guru Gobind Singh, that was a real live experience for the people that met Sant Jarnail Singh, and many other Sikhs throughout the movement.
So because so many Sikhs went down there, young Sikhs, who your appearance and
we grew up, and our dad would bring home the Des Pades every week, and we'd see the Shaheed Singhs on the front cover. We'd go to the Gurdwara on a Sunday and we'd see by Sukha Jinda, pictures on the walls, and those kind of
images.
They leave an impression.
They leave an impression.
It's kind of almost, I suppose, living Guru Gobind Singh Ji time again. But I do enjoy the Shahidi albums, and the music that you give into those albums is really, really good as well. And you go to Mele and you hear those, and I think maybe the young Sikhs who were maybe wanting to Bhangra, they kind of found voice through your albums, didn't they?
We kind of the whole idea of putting. Put it this way, when we first put War Cries on The Rising, we had some people that said, why have you put a Dharmic Geet on the same album as commercial material?
Right.
And our answer to that was, well, put it this way, the people that you're going to reach with a Dharmic CD that is specific only Dharmic Geet already listen to dharmic material.
Yeah.
And the people that we're trying to reach are people that might take an interest after hearing something, but wouldn't necessarily go out and buy a dharmic tape.
Yeah.
So we wanted to actually show people that we can interact with our history in a new way, and try and talk about our history or recent history in a new way, in a musical way, without it becoming Bhangra.
Right.
You know, I mean, I understand that there might be...
The concept basically came from hip-hop.
Yeah.
We used to listen to a lot of Ice Cube.
Dr. Dre?
Dr. Dre,
Dr.
Ice
D,
Cube.
as I couldn't spell Dr. Dre.
And at the time, Ice Cube, I'm talking like early 90s.
Early
Right.
90s.
And Ice Cube was rapping about a lot of political unrest that was happening in America at the time. And you know, and he'd have samples of Malcolm X in his rap songs.
Yeah.
And for us, it was like, you know, there's so much happening in our community.
Yeah.
And we have such a huge heritage. Even Nas was doing stuff like that. He still does a lot of conscious hip-hop.
Yeah.
And we just felt that this is something that's not being done in Punjabi music at a level where the young generation can take it on board or understand it.
Yeah.
You know, people like Gurdas Man Honi are doing it on their own level, where they're reaching the young people in Punjab.
Yeah.
But I mean, the people overseas, the youngsters overseas are not getting that. That message isn't going to them. You know?
Okay.
So we just felt that, you know, this music needs to take a turn.
Yeah.
You know, and we need to do something completely unique.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. We're obviously in conversation with the one and only Tigerstyle, two and only Tigerstyle. I always say one and only for some reason. We'll be back after this break, and I'm just going to touch upon a little bit about, you know, who they are, where they come from, and it's a great show. So remember, if you do miss it today, you can always catch up on Thursday and a Saturday. We'll be back after this short break.